pranic healing, inner peace, better relationships, spiritual connection, health, balance, harmony, joy, love. Welcome to the podcast of How Pranic Healing Changed My Life. I'm your host, Nicolefouche, and this podcast shares the many benefits of pranic healing and how people's lives have changed for the better after becoming involved in this revolutionary healing modality. We will share testimonials from people who have experienced the multiple benefits of pranic healing and how they have integrated the teachings into their lives. This relaxed platform shares the raw, authentic, heartfelt stories and the miracles that have unfolded. I hope these stories inspire you. So welcome to another fabulous podcast of How Pranic Healing Changed My Life. And this will be a very special one because I know Nidhi, I've been working with her for a little while now. And Dr. Nidhi is actually a medically trained doctor, and this is one of the things we love in pranic healing, where a lot of medical doctors are starting to get involved in pranic healing and just seeing the benefits and the value of pranic healing in all of our lives. So I welcome you, Dr. Nidhi. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy and honored to be here, Nicole.
So the first question I always ask everybody who joins is, how did you get involved in pranic healing? And this is such an amazing question, because when I look at sometimes the synchronicities and how people found pranic healing, everybody's got their unique stories. So just share, what were you looking for? How did you find it? What were the steps involved with you getting involved in pranic healing?
So actually, as a child, I was very existential. I was having like a spiritual crisis. Um, there are times in my life where I actually felt like in my childhood, I was like watching it up to a point. Because I could see that there were so many things that I wanted to do, and there were like systemic obstacles. And it's at some point, I just didn't understand what was happening anymore. And so I became the watcher. And the more I watched it, the more I realized I didn't understand what was happening. And this sort of spiraled. By the time I was 13, I was sort of gripped in this purposelessness and meaninglessness of life. I had a meltdown on my living room floor. I was hysterical. I was sobbing. My parents were trying to console me. And I was saying, we're going to live, we do all this, and then we die. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what living is. And my parents had no idea how to resolve it. And they were trying to explain that I was important to them. And I was trying to get through to them that that's not what I was talking about, And
at the point of actually questioning, why am I here? What is my purpose?
mm-hmm.
There must be more to this than just being born and leaving. And
Exactly.
the bit in the middle was the bit that you were having the challenge with.
Exactly. And by the time I was 17, 18, and you have to decide what you want to do in college, I said, okay, since I don't know what all of this means, I at least want to do something that's helping people. And that's how I got into medicine. And so I started in medical college. When I left to go to college, it sort of triggered this depression for my mom. And I had horrible guilt associated with it. I thought it was my fault. My mom had taken a break and she was literally walking down the street when she saw like pranic healing on one of the outside one of the buildings. And she said, okay, let me go see what it is. And they said, oh, this is a healing modality. She had tried other healing modalities before. So, she was like, oh, I'm interested. Tell me more. My parents, both of them attended a class. She said, I want to heal people. And they said, of course you can. You want to heal yourself first. And so that's how her healing journey started. And when I came home for winter break, they said, hey, there's this meditation. Would you like to try it? And I had done different meditations before, so they knew I'd be open, and I was an explorer. I don't know the answer, so whatever is coming, I'm going to take it, right? Um, so the Twin Hearts meditation began. There was this wonderful music. Master Choa, who's the founder, he introduces himself, right? And at this point, my heart really opened, and all of that pent up emotion just surfaced.
Wow.
And I didn't do the meditation, but I cried and I cried, and I was in physical pain almost. And my parents had learned basic pranic healing at the time, so they healed me. And I think a couple of weeks after, when I came home again for the weekend, just 3 or 4 hours off at college, they said, "Do you want to try the meditation?" And I don't even know why, but after that experience, this should have been something to say, "Don't do it." But there was something, I don't know why I did it. I just knew I was going to do it. And I did the Twin Hearts meditation. So for a few months doing the Twin Hearts meditation, my back would hurt during the meditation. And because they were connected to the center and to other pranic healers, we got the feedback that it was just a lot of pent up emotion, and to keep healing it, keep doing the meditation, that's going to improve. And during my summer break, I did the basic and advanced pranic healing courses. What was really interesting for me looking back when I did the courses was that it's so strange. I didn't have an aha moment or this profound moment. For me, what they were saying was so obvious. And I didn't know that it was so intrinsic to me that I didn't have the aha moment.
And I think that's just by nature who you are. Most kids don't question, like, why am I here? What is the purpose of this? And there were a couple of things you pointed to that I really want to highlight is how many times we are carrying stuff, whether it's emotions or guilt or grief or worry or stress. Some of the times it's not even our own stuff. And some of the stuff, it's just stuff that we've made up. Like if you had to say to your parents, I feel so guilty, they would have been like, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And we're carrying all of this stuff and we don't need to be carrying it. And that's the thing that I love about the meditation on Twin Hearts is that anybody can do it. And sometimes we don't actually realize the weight of what we're actually carrying until it starts to come out. And you're still a really
Right.
person. And I've seen people with, much physically older bodies where there's just years and years and years of anger or resentment or stress or grief that comes out. And it was so good that you recognized that and then went back to say, I need more of this to come out. And that's something that I love about pranic healing is that we got this amazing self-help tool in the meditation on Twin Hearts, but then we've actually got the pranic healing side, which literally anybody and everybody can learn if there's a willingness there, and to be able to receive the healing to help that process evolve even more. I always believe there's some level of divine guidance bringing people through because
I completely agree.
that's what transforms your life, right?
Right. And there's that timing as well, of when I needed it, and it was just there at the right time.
And you need the signs, like literally there was like, there it is.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some of the amazing things that have happened in your journey of pranic healing? How long ago was it that you were introduced to pranic healing?
It was over 10 years ago.
Okay, so
Yeah.
to summarize, just a couple of
Sure. One of the first things that changed for me was shortly actually after my advanced pranic healing course, when I went back to college, maybe a month after, I started having this horrible fatigue. So I was sleeping 8, 9 hours a night, and I was sleeping like 12 hours over the weekend, and I was still exhausted. And I was like, something is not right. And so I got checked up, and they said, "Hey, Nidhi, you seem to have chronic fatigue syndrome. Your tenderness points fit with, fibromyalgia." I was still in the beginning of medical college, so I was like, I need to read about this. I don't know everything about this. And they were like, "Shall we start you on medication?" And I said, "Give me a couple of days to think about this." And once I researched it, I just knew that my way out would be doing twin hearts with exercise. So I was doing, yoga, physical yoga, and I combined this for about a month. And I think in 2 weeks I had no symptoms. And in 4 weeks I was done with it. And I never came back.
Amazing.
So
Great insight just from that, because I know so many people that have struggled with fibromyalgia, and it's one of those syndromes where there's just so many components. And the fact that you had that insight and awareness very early on to say, you know what, let me try something else first, because the medications come with a whole set, of other problems. So, I mean, that's incredible that you saw that almost immediately within a month.
right. And I realized with time that the key was to catch something really quickly.
Yes.
You catch it early and then you treat it. You have this amazing way to get out with freedom. Of course, doing the healing practice, healing patients, I've seen patients with such complex conditions they've had for 10 years, 15 years, find ways out. But for my personal health, because when we tune to the energy, once something is off, I know something is off. You get to tune into that faster and faster. And then you're like, now is when I do it.
Because I find there's a lot of people that are very unaware of the physical body. What are you carrying emotionally? What are you carrying mentally? And then suddenly they have pranic healing meditation to hearts that gets released, and they're like, my gosh, I didn't realize I was carrying all the stuff for so long. And again, it shows you how in tune and how aware you are, that you're able to pick it up really quickly. And I know as I've gone through the different levels through pranic healing, you tend to know when things are off really quickly. It's kind of like the warning signs are going off, like, oh, you've gone off, you need to meditate more, you need more healing. You start to see when you're off balance a lot quicker. And I mean, that in and of itself is such a great life tool, right?
I agree. It's amazing. And the additional perspective to the problem itself, like now I look at physical components. Like as a doctor, I say, oh, these are the physical things that are acting. This is what I need to do physically. This may be the medication that I need to support myself with for this time, or exercise. And then this is the energy aspect. This is what's happening energetically. This is emotionally feeding. This is, the psychology behind what's happening. And I try to address all of them. And I get such deep results, and it's so fulfilling because we look at all the levels from spiritual to physical. And a lot of times when I was young, I thought spiritual meant rejecting the physical. And the beauty of how we're taught pranic healing and the practice is that we need to live in this world, but then you have the right perspective and you balance all the views, and using that for each problem, whether it's a physical problem, whether it's a relationship issue, healing from depression, whatever it is, financial issues, to have that full breadth of awareness and looking at it from these different angles and then resolving it gives you such a deep engagement with life, because you live so much more deeply. And also,
cool. So again, if I can just interrupt right there, to have this traditional Western medicine training in one hand, and in the other hand, to understand we're energy beings. We have emotions and thought forms and spiritual stuff that we need to work through, and being able to balance that in and of itself is such a great set of tools to have in these days and times, because I've seen definitely when you just do one or the other, it's not as powerful as when you do the two. That's what I love with healing.
When I practiced medicine, it was so obvious to me that there was so much more happening with the patient, and that the emotional aspect had a definite function. I could tell after a point, because I would see who was more sick, who was less sick. And with the awareness, what's how much emotional package there is and how weighed down they are. You can see it on their face, you can see it in their body language, you can see it in their family members, right? And I saw this pattern, and it became so obvious to me that we're definitely downplaying all these other factors and focusing only on the physical. And even treating patients physically and quickly was unsatisfying for me if I didn't say, hey, look, this is a chance for you to live life more playfully, more joyfully, forgive your family members for different things. You have a new chance, like reopen all of this. And I would see their expression change, completely change, because they were so focused on the problem. They didn't see all these other gifts that were coming with this moment, which, because I've been in pranic healing and I've seen so many different patients, I'm attuned to, they're not. And when I give them that insight, I can see this realization dawn upon them and them relooking at all of their life. And I feel like this is something that traditional medicine often misses on, and it's not part of the training. And those people who are really good at it, they pick it up on their own at some point, And I feel like if we had this kind of insight and knowledge going into it, the amount of transformation that's truly possible.
I do believe a lot of medical doctors are starting to explore that, where they
Definitely.
to see there's a greater awareness coming through that we are just more than a physical body. And every time I meet somebody who's in the medical profession that's also involved in pranic healing, I'm like, how lucky are those patients to receive somebody with that good training, but also that understands the other components that are involved in healing. And we've seen it time and time again when we're working with chronic conditions. It's not just a physical issue. There could be anger and resentment and unforgiveness and hurt and betrayal and all these other emotions and energy imbalances going on. And unless you get that in check, the physical body is going to keep showing symptoms. So again, with pranic healing as a complementary therapy for other modalities and other systems, pranic healing works so well with every other healing system, and it complements everything in every way. So, I've had a lot of clients that have chiropractic with pranic healing and acupuncture with pranic healing and, naturopathy with pranic healing and traditional Western medicine with pranic healing. And it elevates all of it. And that, I think, is where the magic lies in pranic healing.
I completely agree. One of the beautiful things that I've noticed is if you go through the pranic healing protocols, it mirrors the physical condition and what I know as a medical doctor is happening in the condition. And I literally went through this protocol by protocol for each condition. And I did this because I was like, as a doctor, I'm curious, like it should meet, right? And if it's not meeting, I need to think about this. And so I actually went through the process, not by looking at the protocol, by looking at the medical condition. What do I know the protocol should have? And then I went to look at each of these protocols because I didn't want to be biased by the protocol first. And then I looked at the so my mind is so analytical, right? So I wanted to do this.
That's what I love. And as you were saying that, my thought immediately went to how blessed are we that we had such a wise and knowledgeable teacher in Master Cho.
Oh my God.
That
I agree.
He knew all of this stuff, not as a medical doctor, he was an engineer. And when he put these protocols together, and when you as a medical doctor then go and look at how did he know that? His wisdom and his insight and his genius is beyond anything I could ever imagine, because there are so many times like right now where I'm like, how did he know that stuff? I mean, that is
I agree. It's completely mind-blowing. And the more I understand about pranic healing, the more I practice the different teachings or the higher meditations. When I come back to it, I'm like, how did he know that this is gonna do this for me? It's crazy, insane, above my, because I can definitely see that arriving at it, seeing all of this and then kind of getting that perception, right? Where I look at this protocol, I look at this, for example, and match it and say, oh, it matches. And I'm really happy about that. At this level, it's different from trying to see it from the level that he was in, looking at it top down, really, and then designing this is
Nidhi, I want to
amazing.
ask you, what does your future hold in pranic healing? Because I mean, you've already had so much stuff happen in a short amount of time. What's next for you?
Since I always knew from the first class that I attended that I would teach one day, but it was just a question of when. So now I finally joined the teacher training program. I'm really excited. This year I should be finishing it, and teaching in the New York tri-state area. We're looking to open a new center in New York. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. I'm looking to do more certifications, and really enjoy the practice and the teachings, applying it to my life and helping other people apply it to their life, and watching the transformation and having that depth of connection with each of those interactions, that magic. That's what I'm really looking forward to every day.
Amazing. So if there was one person that was just listening to this podcast and you had a message to share with them, what would that message be?
Trust the process.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Whatever life brings, whatever the journey may look like for you, it's so unique. Trust the process and know that in each moment, what you need will come to you, and it will gradually teach you, gradually move, and it may not always look like what we think, but trust the process.
I love it. Dr. Nidhi, I'm so grateful that you got to share your message. I'm sure you're going to inspire a lot of people to really seek out pranic healing. And if you're listening to this and you're struggling with something, find a pranic healer, find a pranic healing center near you. There is help, and pranic healing really can just make the most incredible shifts and changes in your lives. And I'm grateful for you, Dr. Nidhi. I'm sure you're going to
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so happy to be able to share my story.